Now, the other critical component that comes with all this is judicial wellness. And just to comment, in our country today, when the common mwananchi looks at the judiciary, it seems like the arm of the government that seems to work, or rather it's their last bulwark, even in accessing justice. And judicial wellness is often overlooked because, so you as judicial officers, which initiatives are you undertaking to promote wellness, resilience and mental health among other judicial officers and court staff?
Yeah, you are right. The judiciary carries the burden of resolving disputes in the society. So wherever else disputes begin, they end up in the judiciary. So the judiciary, we carry a lot of stress. Judges, magistrates, adjudicators, tribunals, we all carry a lot of stress to resolve these disputes. And therefore, mental wellness is absolutely critical for us. We must be well for us to be able to help in resolving these disputes. So it's a daily adventure for us to try and see that we are well, mentally, physically, spiritually, to be able to meet that kind of stress that is unleashed on us. The tensions that are, transferred to us, and the trauma that is transferred to us. So we are trying to revamp a psychosocial unit within the judiciary to see to it that every court station, as a way of debriefing, if you have gone through a very traumatic hearing. For instance, when I was a trial judge, trying a murder case where people are murdered in the most savage way, cats, put in sacks, I don't know, and all that evidence is brought to you, pictures are brought to you, gory pictures. So if one cannot cope, then at least you have a counselor who can be able to help you decompress. Then we also encourage every court station to have games like, they like a lot football, but they organize themselves also to do walks. 2 weeks ago, we hiked the Gong Hills with judges, magistrates, and whoever could come. That way you are able to bond, you are able to exercise your mind and your body, and also align everything by the time you start work on Monday. So this is like a new discovery because I joined the judiciary 22 years ago. There was no mention of mental wellness those days, but we have realized now it is absolutely central to every judicial employee, that they must be mentally well. And there are so many things you cannot be taught, even if we have this psychosocial support unit, including even pastoral care. Nobody will teach you how to eat well, how to balance your eating, and when to eat and what to eat. Nobody will teach you how to be, spiritually aligned. It is you to know how you find your peace. Some of us will have to meditate. We do meditations. We were taught how to meditate, even how to breathe, exercises of breathing, how to do simple exercises if you don't even have time to go to the gym or to engage in vigorous exercises. There are some simple exercises you can do just to align your mind, your body, and your thoughts, so that you don't suffer stress. So we also have mentorship. We encourage everybody to have a mentor. You know, it's also very difficult to choose for anybody a mentor, but every employee, when they go for induction, when they are employed in the judiciary, when they are recruited in the judiciary, they are encouraged, please, you know somebody you admire. Just try to be somebody's mentor. They don't even have to know that you are mentoring them. For instance, for me, when I was young, there are certain people I identified, and I watched them, and I followed them. I read about them because I admired them. They mentored me, and they didn't know they were mentoring me. But in the judiciary, we encourage even a one-on-one. You know, that's how we are dealing with the issue of mental wellness. There is a huge expectation of judges and magistrates on judicial work, lots of workload, a backlog of cases. So it's just to organize the docket, trying to also come up with a case management systems that help us manage our docket so that we don't suffer stress because you are overwhelmed. Your docket is huge. But if you have a case management system that enables you manage your docket, it's actually a mental journey and an intellectual journey of understanding how these cases come to court. Many people file cases just to threaten the other side. They have no intention of moving with that case. So when that case comes and it's in the system, no movement, that is a case that you take out of the system. Dismiss it for want of prosecution. There are other cases that come also to just scare the other side. They will bring a pickup load of documents. But when you interrogate what it is, the issues are not even 1 page, they are half a page. But because you are seeing files from there to there, you fear them, you don't want to touch them, but they stress you because I have all these files that are pending before me. So it's a psychological, intellectual journey of case management that helps judges and magistrates not to fear anything, but to approach everything with sobriety, to find out what is the legal issue here that I'm supposed to deal with. Yeah, and that way now with this effective case management system that we are introducing in every court is actually running a case management system of dealing with the dead stock that has been there, which is not moving, identifying the issues, and when you go to court, you give that issue just 10 minutes. You don't have to give the whole day to an issue. Your time, you manage your court, and when you write your judgment, you just do not write a thesis, you just focus on answering those issues, even briefly, especially where you are not breaking new grounds.
And at the backdrop of that is the security for judicial officers, which has remained a concern, especially in politically sensitive judicial officers.
That is a major concern as far as we are concerned as the judiciary. It's actually a primary concern. I had a meeting with partners in 2022, just before the general elections, and they asked me, because the country is tense, we are going through elections, what stops you from sleeping? I told them nothing, because we have always gone through elections. But when we met them last, they asked me the same question. I told them, now I can't sleep. I worry about the security because a magistrate was shot when sitting in court. We have seen many of our people die suddenly. We don't know whether it's also stress related with the work, that we never get time to look after ourselves, to look after our health. So, and looking also at our infrastructure, there is no security. You can just walk in the Supreme Court. You know, when I went to the Westminster Magistrates Court in the UK, I could not enter with a small, you know, gadget in my handbag, a small scissors, which is for mending my clothes. I had to leave it there. A whole Chief Justice. That is the kind of security in other courts. But we don't have that, simply because there has been no attention given to the security. But since I became CJ, I took it also personally, because I'm a woman. If we were bombed there at the Supreme Court, they'll be saying it's because it's a woman who has no idea about security. So we tried very much to see to it that we have a judiciary police unit that takes care of judges by providing judges and judicial officers with the security. And we've done well because they liaise with the court stations to make sure that the court stations are also provided with security. But we have a lot of work to do, especially when our magistrate was shot in court by a police officer who is supposed to be providing security. We have learned many, many lessons. First of all, we did not have secure courtrooms. That court, as you know, was operating in a makeshift tent to discharge justice for people because the cases in Makandara are too many and we don't have enough courtrooms. So to make do and serve the people, we mounted tents. That is why it was so easy for somebody to just walk in and shoot a magistrate. So we made a decision as the judicial leadership team, JLT, that we are going to at least ensure safety of our judges, our JOs. You know, they must operate in a safe environment. So no more owning court in the tents, in the makeshift tents, and we demolished them. Then we have a whole report on the security measures that we need to employ to ensure that the judiciary is safe. We have a committee that is chaired by a judge of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Mr. Justice William Ouko, that has given us a report with short-term, long-term, mid-term and long-term activities to be undertaken to make sure that judiciary is safe. Having screens before you enter the court, and so many other recommendations they have made in that report on how we can enhance security in the judiciary.
Thank you for that. Now, to the next question is, on judicial integrity, and I'll speak to this, as a law student or as a person who watches the bench from outside. There've been constant attacks from, some members of the senior bar, the legal profession, saying that the judiciary is compromised, the judiciary is corrupt, the judiciary is losing public trust. So, how is the judiciary addressing this issue of internal corruption, and what has been the results so far?
That is a very serious issue that touches on integrity, because the judiciary is an institution of high values where integrity is supposed to be upheld so that we can build trust from the members of public that we serve. Now, we are very, very keen on ensuring that in the judiciary, the policy that we implement is one of zero tolerance to corruption in all its facets: bribery, conflict of interest, favoritism, and all that. And we have a code of conduct. And we have the Judicial Service Commission that is charged with the responsibility of disciplinary. Within the office of the CJ, I have a unit called the ombudsperson that deals with complaints. But those are the daily complaints of my file is missing, my case was adjourned, my judgment has been delayed. They help with that. The court was not sitting, we were kept waiting, the court started late, dealing with all those problems. And those ones are dealt with real time. What I'm trying to say is that if you have a complaint against a judicial officer who has not done what they are supposed to do, you can always report to OJO, and it will be ticketed, and action will be taken, and an answer will be given to you what is happening to that file. Now, judiciary is not an abstract agency or institution. It's an institution within the Kenyan society. And we know corruption is endemic. Corruption is systemic. Corruption is a big cancer that is eating our society. And we are all saying no to corruption. And as National Council on the Administration of Justice, we undertook to establish a framework or a guideline for each of the agencies on how they are fighting corruption. How are we as a judiciary fighting corruption? Judiciary is the first government institution to invite EACC, which we did in 2022, to come and examine our systems and give us a report on what we can do so that we can deal with corruption. We are always inviting everybody who has information about bribery or any kind of corruption to bring forth that information to the JSC, so that if it's a judge who has taken a bribe, please come and tell us so that we can do investigations and the judge can be asked to say why they received a bribery. And if Kenyans do not want to come to JSC, they can also go to EACC. It is an institution that is established to deal with ethics and anti-corruption. They can go to the police. But we understand corruption involves two people. There is a giver and there is a taker. Who is this who is bringing bribes to the judges to bribe them? And is not saying, what can I do as the Chief Justice to enter the minds of all the litigants who come to Kenya, to the Kenyan courts, to know who is this that who is going to give a bribe, unless you're asking whether I have been given a bribe myself as a CJ. I have 207 judges each one of them operating in their own courts, in their own chambers, in their own homes, about 570 magistrates doing the same, court officials also. So we require a concerted effort to confront corruption. First of all, for the Kenyans and for the litigants to say no. We have put messages in most of the courts. Where I go, I think there is not a single court I have visited where there is no big message there. This is no corruption soon. We don't take bribes. We only take money through the payment platform. We don't even deal with the cash. So why are Kenyans giving bribes when it has been declared by the law, by the Constitution, by the messages all over, no corruption? So my message would be to ask Kenyans to partner with us and refuse to give bribe. And if you have been asked to give a bribe, please report. And we have various agencies. The National Intelligence Service is supposed to correct intelligence. They have all the means, including communications, to know who is communicating with who is meeting who. Me as a CJ, I may not know who is meeting who, but NIS knows because they have the mechanisms. The police, the EACC, those are the institutions set to fight corruption. But I appreciate they cannot succeed alone. We must work together. And we in the judiciary, we have said it, and we have even said it publicly. We held pressers as the Judicial Service Commission, as judiciary, to condemn corruption, and they say if you have any evidence of any judge or magistrate or judicial officer who is taking a bribe, please bring that evidence to JSC. But mob wrenching will not help. To wake up every day and say judiciary is corrupt, Supreme Court is asking for money, that will not help because you have not given us any evidence that can help us know who among the 7 judges of the Supreme Court has received the money and from who. Go to the police, report. Go to JSC, report. Go to AACC, report, and bring the evidence. But some of these are meant to distract, to disparage, and to undermine me as a Chief Justice. But I refuse to be distracted. I refuse to be undermined because I have a mandate to ensure that Kenyans get justice, Kenyans access justice, that we judges, judicial officers, and judiciary serve Kenyans and live to our constitutional mandate of ensuring that we work towards making Kenya safe and secure for all of us to live and to realize our potential. I cannot, as a Chief Justice, be responding to all these social media attacks because that's not my job description. That is meant to distract me because sometimes you don't even know who you are communicating with and what their intention is. Mine is an appointment and a mandate given by the Constitution. I don't know whose mandate those attackers are pursuing. If it's their self-interest, I don't know. But let us just focus on delivering a service to the people. But let us ask Kenyans to cooperate by bringing evidence, if they have any evidence, and also desisting from giving bribes. Because we are paid to give the services. Kenyans pay us through the taxes, which they pay through the sweat of their brow. Why then would they go an extra mile to look for money to bribe when they have already paid taxes?
Thank you so much for that. And your question
the heart of the nation, because it is the one that, defines the values of this nation that we are committed to observe, especially, the values of accountability and transparency. Like I was telling you about the fight against corruption and ensuring also accountability, because the judiciary is independent in our decision making, but also we are accountable to Kenyans. And that mandate of ensuring judicial independence and accountability is given to the Judicial Service Commission. So how do we make ourselves, first of all, accountable? Because independence is given in the Constitution, it's in black and white. No one can direct, us in how to make a decision. No person or authority can direct us. So that is anchored and is profound. The biggest problem is accountability, because it goes hand in hand. I cannot just sit pretty and say I'm independent, you can't ask me anything. I am accountable for my time that is paid for by the taxpayers and all the privileges that I have as an employee of the judiciary. So we have performance and measurements understanding that we enter into every year. Every year, I will decide so many cases, so many applications, case clearance rates. So that's how we ensure accountability. And because we are in this digital era, you know very well, as a student, as a researcher, if I make a judgment which is incompetent, that does not stand the test of time, you know how we are exposed, because that AI picks and says, if you quoted the wrong section of the law, it tells you. So if you are cheating through a judgment, you are teased out. So you must be honest also in the way you interpret the law and the way you apply the facts to the law. So for us, this is how we manage ourselves, by asking ourselves what it is that I did every day. And we have a daily return that everybody signs every day. I came to work at 8, I did 5 cases, I had so many witnesses, I did so many rulings. That you do at the end of the week is corrected, at the end of the month it is submitted as a return to a whole department that manages that, and for the performance and management understandings and administration of justice, we have a very vibrant committee that is led by a judge of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Lady Justice Murugo. And every year we do a report on what our performance has been vis-a-vis the previous year, vis-a-vis the workload that we have. For instance, in the Supreme Court, what was our backlog from last year? This year, how many cases have we had? What is our case clearance rate? What is our backlog? So I think we've been able to map the whole judiciary. We know the number of cases that we have, which court they are in, what is backlog, and backlog is a case that has been 3 years and more in the court, because we want to finalize every case within 3 years in the trial court, and every appeal in the appellate court within about a year. So like last year, we are reporting in the next 1 week on our State of the Administration of Justice report, what we call the SONJA. It shows that we achieved a case clearance rate of 99% in the last financial year, which means we resolved 419 cases out of 423 cases which were filed. We hope we can actually clear 100% of the cases that are filed, and you can see we are not far from that if we did 99%. There are some courts that surpass that, like my court, the Supreme Court, the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and even the ELC, the Environment and Land Court, exceeded the 100% case clearance rate benchmark. But we are lagging behind with some courts, which I believe will catch up, especially the Court of Appeal, because of the numbers that are very, very low. So in terms of accountability and the values of Chapter 10, I think we are doing well. First of all, to understand where we are, what we are doing, and being accountable every day, every week, every month, and every year on what we do as the judiciary with the little resources that we receive.